so far this year, according to the Washington Post database, there have been 12 unarmed Americans shot and killed so far. 5 of them so far were white, 4 were black, 2 were Hispanic, and 1 was race unknown. And obviously race is at the center of the public conversation about policing in America and has been, for decades really, but in my lifetime, truly since maybe 2012 or 2013. And obviously when you take the uniform off, whether that's in Baltimore or if you're, visiting a city where you're not known, you appear to be another black civilian, and presumably, like we all have, we've had experiences with the cops and so forth. And a person like you might be in the unique position of having been on both sides of it. Although I'm sure it is a little different to be pulled over as a cop. But what is your impression of the degree to which racial bias is a force both in police shootings of unarmed civilians and then separately in the daily interactions between civilians and the cops?
You know what? I'll tell you a quick story. A couple of years ago, I was driving. I got pulled over in a different jurisdiction. And a retired, commissioner, and I'm pulled over, and I still put my hands up. It was on a dark road. I still put my hands up. When the officer got to my window, I still said, "Officer, I'm lower. I'm going to reach for my wallet." And the cop said, "What are you doing all of that for?" And I'm thinking, so you don't shoot. So you're at ease and we can both make it through this. So I told him, I'm a retired officer, I'm armed. And he said, "What are you doing all of this for? Put your hands down." And Coleman, I did not want, I said, I'm going to put my hands down slowly. And I was a cop. So the thing is, it didn't change for me. When I was an undercover drug detective, and I was doing buys, I was buying, portions of kilos and doing all this stuff around Baltimore. One of the guys who came in to train me before I got out of there, one of the best undercover cops in Baltimore City, he told me that no matter what, don't forget that I'm black. I had a sergeant, he was white. His biggest concern when we would go out to do our drug buys, he would be more concerned with what the police were going to do than what the suspects did. So that's a tough, man, it's just tough to explain it. Even I'm black, I'm a cop, but I still can remember, the things that my mother told me as a kid, about dealing with police. And I was a police. I'm still, I'm a retired officer. All these, thousands of cops work for me, but my mind still has a perception of how do I deal with officers that have no clue who I am. So that's one thing. But if you're talking about these uses of force, once again, case-by-case basis, what happened? And I'm going to say this, and it might piss some more people off. Just because someone doesn't have a gun does not mean that a police officer cannot use force. That is one, it bothers me a lot. I've seen circumstances where that cop is losing really, really bad. And that person isn't stopping, and they have to escalate to their service weapon. No mace, no nightstick, no verbal, taser isn't working. They have to escalate. So again, I don't just, I can't quickly give an answer when those, numbers like that come out. But you said with 4 black, 2
Hispanic so far this year, and
Hispanic.
5 were white so far.
I would need to know, what's the incident, what happened for each one. And I just never really just dive into that, because that's one of the things that I had to do, was look at uses of force and go through them and see what happened. Now, I would look for patterns in the uses of force. Did this officer, what's their background? How many incidents have they had? Are we seeing too much usage of a service weapon? I mean, that's completely possible. Cops who've been in multiple shootings, you better start paying attention. Not saying that they've done something wrong, but is there something through training? What are we missing here? Officers who use their taser too much, use their mace too much, officers who have too much complaints of discourtesy. These are things, Coleman, that executives need to be held accountable for. And one of the biggest things I keep saying over and over again, the lack of executive accountability is impacting what we're getting as citizens across the United States.
So I want to go back to that interaction you had as a civilian with the cop. This is, I think that's a really interesting little interaction to analyze, because, on the one hand, my dad, I wouldn't say he gave me the talk in the sense that he gave me the "you're a black man dealing with the cops" talk, but he gave all of his children a talk about how to deal with the cops. And this is if you're driving, you keep your hands on the wheel where they can see it. You don't say anything disrespectful, say sir and so forth, and just get through the interaction. Don't, if they ask you why you're pulled over, say you don't know. So parts of the talk were actually not just to survive the interaction, but also to not make it easier, or to know your rights as well. And everything about that talk seems to me that not only should every black parent tell their children this, it seems every white, Hispanic, or Asian parent should tell their children this as well. How to not be unintentionally a difficult suspect. Just something as simple as keeping your hands on the wheel. If you just don't know to do that, the cop is likely just to be a little more on edge than you want them to be, even if your intentions are perfectly pure. But in your case, it seems like the cop, was it that he was offended that you were afraid?
Yeah, he was offended. He really felt that, and I need to say this now. When I did get my ID and everything out of my wallet, after the stop was over, we talked for about 30 minutes on the side of the road. But anyway, he was offended that I behaved that way when I'm trying to, explain to him, I'm retired, but I still understand the dynamics of what can happen. It wasn't about, I'm saying it's not about you. It's about what I know can happen. Car stops are one of the riskiest things that an officer can do. We all know that. I want it to be smooth for you. I want you to be comfortable with me, and I want to get this over with. If he wanted to give me a citation, fine. I just want to get it over with, and we both go on our way. But, Coleman, I'm just trying to say, I got to talk too. My mother worked in corrections. She did 33 years in corrections. And I remember the talk. The talk was answer yes, sir, no, sir. Never run from a cop. Never turn your back to a cop, and always try to remember their badge number. And if you see someone that tell them to go get help. And I don't know what age your dad gave you to talk, but I got to talk when I was maybe 10 years old, when I could start to go out and play without supervision. So That's something and it just doesn't go away. It didn't go away when I got a badge. It didn't go away when I became a sergeant. It didn't go away when I became a commissioner. And I think about that a lot, but also think about how many times, how many times I'm seeing people encourage Black people, brown people to resist arrest. That's the one thing now that I'm really starting to be worried about. Look, resisting arrest, people just must understand that cop is trained to overcome. That cop, he or she is trained to win, period. So if you think that you're going to tussle, they're going to get past that. They're trained that way. Step by step, I'm going to escalate to overcome you. And yes, some cops go too far. And we've got cops, and we've seen it on these videos, in my opinion, that have gone too far. And I do believe that they should go to jail. But on just a simple interaction, it is better to comply and live than to fight and be hurt or be arrested.